This is Due by Friday, a weekly challenge podcast with Merlin Mann, Alex Cox, and Max Temkin. This week's challenge, swab your bacteria. I hate Windows for... Why would Microsoft decide, you know what would be a great noise to do on Skype? Burp, burp, boop. Oh, man. Oh, do we have the doctor?
I'm here. I didn't want to interrupt your noise rant.
I am a Mac user, but our studio uses two PCs to bring in Skype, and it is not the same ringtone for Mac and Windows. It's not like blur, 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 which I think is a much more pleasant noise. How are you this morning?
I am good, and I agree. I think it is a much more pleasant noise.
I'm surrounded by, I've sort of built a little ring of disgusting Petri dishes around me. They're absolutely repulsive.
Don't they smell delicious?
They smell pretty funky. I think Alex and I both did ours. We'll get to this, but I think Alex and I both did ours wrong, but we did them wrong.
I know I did mine wrong.
But we did them wrong in different ways.
Yes.
Excellent.
They're
I think I did
broken.
mine wrong differently, too. My results are very, very strange.
It's science. There's no such thing as a wrong answer. You just asked the wrong question.
No rules, just right.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys, before we get started, can I ask you guys an important topical question that I need some input on?
What would
Yes.
happen if we said no?
Well, I'd do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Penny saw a dinosaur.
So last night, Veronica and I went out for ice cream. It was super nice out in Chicago, and we went out at like 8 o'clock, and we were like, let's walk to ice cream. And we
Jenny's?
walked. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
We walked to Jenny's. Huge line. We waited in the line. We get to the ice cream counter, and Jenny's has a new thing that they do where you can get 3 mini scoops in a bowl as like a trio. Mm-hmm. And
Like a flight.
Like a flight of ice creams. And it's like a very fancy artisanal ice cream shop. And Veronica was like, let's get a flight and share it. And then we'll get to each have the 3 flavors. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm a fucking adult. The whole point of being an adult is that you get to go to the ice cream store whenever you want and you get your own ice cream. I'm not going to share with someone else. Like, I want my own bowl of ice cream. And listen, I'll get a whole flight for myself if I wanted that. Like, I'll fucking get 10 flavors for myself if that's what I want. That's how it works. And
You got to balance your credit card. You could get
she was
6
so
flights if
Veronica
you wanted.
was so she was
You could get
so
flights and not even eat them. You're a grown-ass man. You can throw it at the dude.
Veronica was so offended. She's like, why wouldn't we share the flight? And like, because
no.
that's
like sharing an email account. Don't do that.
Well, we didn't. We each got our own ice cream, and then we got home and
There's plenty of email and ice cream for everyone.
we got home and then we each threw about half of our ice creams out because we couldn't finish the quantity that we got. But I said I would ask the podcast for a ruling.
Okay, if in case Veronica is listening, I have frequented Jenny's as well, and it is typically in the summer when
Wait
you
a
want...
minute, what flavor could you possibly get at Jenny's?
Well, but this is the thing. It's like going to a restaurant. I go to a nice restaurant. They have like the best
do you just
bread.
order the cone?
No. So you're waiting in the 45-minute line.
It's so bitter.
And I know that you're concerned about Max's budget, but he deserves a treat. And again, you're going to throw half of it away, but why not you guys could get 6 flavors. You could get 12 flavors. I don't understand why sharing. You have to wait at least 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It seems like
I think,
I'm
well, let me ask
worried
a
about
question.
this
To your question.
silence.
Are you on good terms with your lady friend right now?
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
I assume so.
Well, okay, but like it's not like you just had a fight and you were making up.
No.
Right?
It wasn't
Okay.
makeup. It wasn't makeup ice cream.
You asked the question, Max. If you had just had a fight and were making up, I would capitulate. On the grounds of let her win, and also it's kind of a dainty 50s like fancy Duchess thing to do
there's
to share a
costs-
bowl of ice cream. But the truth is, you're a grown ass man, and you can have all the fucking ice cream you want, and she should stand down.
Even in the scenario where we had a fight and we were going to get my ice cream to make up, I would still be doing the list of pros and cons on. I would still be making the little table of like, okay, pro, I save the relationship, but con, I only get half the ice cream flavors I want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's just science.
I mean,
Dr. Don, do you have a ruling on this? You're a scientist.
So what's the issue, Matt? Is it double dipping? Is that what you're concerned about?
Well,
Contagion.
of course you go to the food science right away. To me, it's that we usually eat the ice cream on the way back, and the thing is, I want it when we're on that walk back with the ice cream. I want to have a bite of the ice cream whenever I want it. I don't want to wait for someone else to have to pass me the bowl so that I can have a bite.
Really, it's time theft.
I want it right then. Listen, if I didn't want a treat going into my mouth exactly how I wanted, I wouldn't be walking to ice cream at 8 o'clock at night. But I want a whole bowl of ice cream just to myself that I can eat however I want.
And not to be judged.
I think the silence is silent.
You're back on your heels now. This is terrible. It's a terrible way to live.
Oh, man.
They were when they were getting the ice cream. It was very busy last night at Jenny's because it was kind of the first hot day we've had in Chicago. And the ice cream girl that was giving us the ice cream, they have these big barrels of ice cream behind the counter, and she's putting her whole torso into the barrel. She's getting down in there into the bedrock and the sediment, just scraping it out. And her whole face was in there, and I was like, this can't be sanitary.
No, that's not hygienic.
Also, to answer your question, I get vanilla. It's the best vanilla.
What else? I have I had a couple of other pieces of follow up. I don't know if I'm kind of excited about the challenge. I kind of want to start talking about that. What do you guys want to do?
We have some related medical news this week, but it can wait till later.
Wait.
We have some very exciting medical updates this week.
I think please
proceed.
bring them on.
Did you guys look at the doc?
I'm opening the doc right now.
There's a doc?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Digga. You may remember Dr. Harold Bornstein.
Yes. I forgot that this happened
There
yesterday.
are two very important pieces of Dr. Harold Bornstein related news. The first piece is that apparently, this is Dr. Harold Bornstein, who has reportedly been the personal physician to Donald Trump for 36 years. Contemporaneous somewhat with him mentioning that he most def has prescribed hair medicine to the president. His office was raided by Keith Schiller and another large man. An exclusive interview in his Park Avenue office. Bornstein told NBC News that he felt raped, frightened, and sad when Keith Schiller and another large man came to his office to collect the president's records on the morning of February 3rd.
I know we're all going to have a laugh here about Trump and his doctor, but I mean, whom among us hasn't sent two huge goons to our imaginary, physician's
Lebowski
office,
doctor?
yeah, to our Lebowski doctor, to confiscate some records, talking about your hair implants and your dentures and your.
You're the law boy here, but it's my understanding that like the paper belongs to the doctor, but the facts belong the medical facts, the science facts, in some sense, HIPAA belong to the client, to the patient. We say client now. But yeah, I can see from the photos here that Dr. Harold has updated his hair a little bit. He's gone from Lebowski to a little bit Bruce Vilanch. Bruce Vilanch cosplaying Steve Jobs. Yeah. He's got some Warby Parkers. Mm-hmm. They must have been here for 25 or 30 minutes. It created a lot of chaos. He described the incident as frightening. There's a framed photo of Donald Trump giving the thumbs up. So I just wanted to toss that out. The second piece of news is even more amazing. First piece of amazing stuff. Again, the greatest threads are often Darth threads, but the second greatest thread on Twitter is Matt Gertz and his now 2 years long thread of if you try to work with Trump, he will humiliate you. It's just amazing. So now, wait, there's one more fact. Didn't know if there's a release form attached. So basically, I can't find the paragraph, but he has been cut out of the circle now. He has not been in touch with Trump for a really long time. He's been cut out of the circle.
Who do you think is on Trump's HIPAA form?
His guardian ad litem? Who's
Do
on
you
his
think
HIPAA
Maloney's
form?
on there?
It's an interesting question because, who would he trust that much?
Exactly.
Pence or Mother? Maybe, but
maybe we're meant to think that that's his tragic downfall. That there's nobody that he loves enough to put on the HIPAA form. But it turns out that there was one person.
Maybe the HIPAA form was the friends we made along the way. my understanding of HIPAA, I mean, like everything, nothing fucking means anything anymore. But HIPAA is a big deal. A friend of the show, John Siracusa, is in an industry that involves HIPAA. My wife is in an industry that involves HIPAA. And it's something that people in the industry take extremely seriously. Now, Dr. Don, you're a kind of doctor. Is that true? Is HIPAA a thing?
Well, it's something that we've been wrestling with at Rutgers because we recently merged with a medical school, and then now we've got to reconcile what are the normal review board stuff at the university with the medical stuff, and yeah, HIPAA gets into it. It's crazy.
A lot of people don't know this, but HIPAAs are actually the animal that kills the most humans every year.
You're kidding me. I did not know that. That's even if you cut their tusk off?
Mm-hmm. Well, is
that in the wild, Max, or are those domestic HIPAAs?
You're gonna need one of those to get a boner.
Okay. Okay. And is that like a pot-bellied HIPAA that you'd have in your home as a domestic pet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Trump has Gamora on his HIPAA form.
Oh God, the sacrifice for the soul stone.
All right. Well,
just real quickly, the other one was that Bornstein now says that. Gosh, who would have guessed it? But that wonderful fawning letter about how Donald Trump would be the most healthy president of all time, this I can promise you. We'll see what happens. That actually, as it turns out, it was not the doctor who had written that. It was dictated to the doctor. The doctor says he was very busy that day. He had many patients to see in his definitely real doctor office practice. And so Donald Trump dictated the form to him, and he signed it and put it on letterhead and signed it.
I did that once to a doctor. I needed to graduate college, and what I was supposed to have done was taken 3 years of foreign language classes. I was supposed to have been learning Spanish, and then I got to the month before I graduated, and I realized I had not taken any language classes, so I had to exercise.
They should tell you about that earlier. I ran into that too. They should tell you that way earlier.
I'll go ahead and say that the issue was not that the school didn't tell me about it.
Okay.
I just somehow thought that I wouldn't have to do it if I waited long enough. And the school called my bluff on that, and they said, hey, we're not going to let you graduate. And so I looked up, like, what are the ways out of the language requirement, and basically if you have, like, a learning disability, you can do... Oh, my God, there was a provision at the college that said if you have a learning disability, you can do what they call culture classes instead of language classes, and they had a list of classes that counted as culture classes. So I called my doctor and I was like, listen, I need you to say that I have a learning disability so I don't have to take Spanish and I can graduate college. And he was like, yeah, I don't care. Okay. And I wrote me a letter and he was like, to whom it may concern, Max is too stupid to learn Spanish and it would cause him a medical amount of anxiety to try to learn Spanish.
No bueno.
And if he were to take Spanish, he would be the healthiest individual ever to undertake the college Spanish program. And he sent it in the school, and I was like, can't argue with that. And they were like, I guess we can't. And they let me out of it. And that's how I graduated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do you know the Spanish word for brother?
Hermano.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, but that's Arrested Development. I mean, I know all the Spanish words in Arrested Development.
Exactly. Merlin, this is a big day for me. I'm having what might be considered a coffee because we ran out of Diet Coke in this office. I don't know.
Is that going to make you vomit again?
No, it wasn't. It was your gross matcha milk.
We should get the little.
There's no milk in this.
What's the little recorder? The little thing that you plug the XLRs into.
A little Zoom.
We should get the Zoom in case you throw up. Yeah, and you take the Zoom with you.
No.
Ticket to go. Yeah.
Oh man, Dr. Don, I don't enjoy coffee ever at all. Or dietary fiber. It looks like candy in a bottle.
Can I talk about the vegan Twitter drama that happened this week?
Oh, my God. Yes, please.
So this was a guy named Anthony, and he advertises himself as a non-religious vegan on Twitter. And I saw this. I saw this going around. I follow a bunch of vegan friends on Twitter, and I saw this going around vegan Twitter, and people were having very strong reactions to this whole thread. So basically, so this is a story posted by a woman named Avocado, and she says, she said, pulled up to my driveway to find a little girl crying. She didn't have money for the ice cream van like her friends did, so I gave her enough money to get herself a big, nice ice cream cone with sauce sprinkles and a flake. She was so happy and soon had ice cream around her mouth. And then that post had like 1 retweet, 42 likes. And then this dude, Anthony, the non-religious vegan, slides into her DMs. And he says to her, I know this because he screenshotted it and posted the screenshots.
No.
So
Nice.
he slides into her DMs and he says, hi, I am just sending this to ask if the ice cream van was selling vegan ice cream, which would be surprising. Wanted to help wanting to help others is, of course, great, but we should, of course, be helping them without basically harming and killing non-human babies, which buying non-vegan ice cream basically does. That means that if the ice cream was the typical kind, which I generally assume is the case, it definitely would have been best to help the girl in some other way. I'm really hoping that it was an unexpected case of the ice cream being vegan, in which case that is awesome. And then she writes back and says, I bought a kid an ice cream. It isn't that deep, fam. And he writes back, it is that deep if the ice cream was non-vegan, which it obviously is quite deep to any actual vegan and a severe mistake. And then the woman writes back and says, mate, I'm vegan, my mom's vegan, my boyfriend is vegan, and I'm not about to push the message onto a crying child. Lighten the fuck up. And then he posts a call out. He posts all those screenshots and says, I usually do not do this, but I feel that this is appropriate to post since this person is claiming to be a vegan, even though she admitted to buying non-vegan ice cream for someone else, defending what she did when I spoke with her privately, hoping this will make her less likely to be defensive. And that got like 2,000. It got like that post blew up. It had like thousands of retweets.
Jesus.
Hold on. There is vegan Twitter? And,
Oh, yes.
And how do you like infiltrate vegan Twitter? Do we have do you know people who are retweeting this in a positive way? Like, yeah, look at this guy's call out.
Most of the people I knew were retweeting and dunking on this guy, but I understand it to be kind of divisive in vegan Twitter. I guess what I took away from it, what was funny to me was like, you on Twitter, Twitter is the social network where you cannot even buy an ice cream for a crying child, and then someone will not.
Find it problematic.
Deeply, not just that it's problematic, but they're like personally offended and they need a moment of reckoning. Like, it's like their hero's journey that they need to like venture into the like underworld to like.
He usually, I think you can see what a fit of peak this was for him. The bald hypocrisy of this person. He usually doesn't do things like this, but this was a red line for him. He needed to make sure this monster was outed.
Yeah.
He slid into those DMs just waiting to take a screenshot and be like, look,
Do you think he was cranking his hog while he was sliding?
Oh, sure.
Is that vegan? Are you allowed to, Dr. Don, you're a doctor. Are you allowed to masturbate when you're a vegan? Is that considered baby killing?
That's not my kind of science, Merlin. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, it's a HIPAA thing, right?
I think it is if you
Exactly.
if you do it like the Navajo way and you use every part of the buffalo. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. Part of the hog.
Every part of the hog.
Really,
Cradle
though,
the balls.
if you swallow, are you not a vegan? Because technically,
Oh, wait a minute. Now we're getting Talmudic. Hang on.
sorry.
Okay,
Nope, nope, I shouldn't have said it.
is it vegan to swallow?
Dr.
Dr. Don, you're a scientist. Is it?
No, I'm sorry. John, I'm sorry.
Well, it's probably more like milk than like meat, right? As long as the cow gave the milk.
Oh, like milk is good to swallow.
No.
Well,
It's got cow babies in it.
If the cow was nicely treated and gave the milk willingly.
Now, you're an extension professor, Dr. Don. You do science. Don't you go out and deal with cows sometimes?
I've talked about raw milk on occasion. But
Raw milk.
This coffee is gross.
Can I? I'm sorry. I realize we're only 18 minutes into recording. B, what are you drinking? And A, is anybody going to introduce Dr. Don?
Please.
Oh man, I forgot that not everyone listened to the after show. Wow, this is one of our least professional moments that
There's
we've
an
ever
after
had
show?
on the podcast.
yeah,
Yeah,
we could fix it in post, right?
we'll fix it in post. All right. Well, hey everybody, welcome to Do by Friday. I'm your host Max Temkin, and I've got a great panel for you here today. I'm joined by my co-hosts Alex Cox and Merlin Mann.
Hi
Max.
there.
Oh, hey guys. And this week we have a very special guest joining the podcast, Dr. Don Schaffner. He is at Bug Counter on Twitter. He is I think, professor of microbiology at Rutgers University. Is that correct?
My full title is I won't give you my full title, but I'm a food scientist and I study food microbiology.
There we go. And also host of the very educational and very funny Food Safety Talk podcast. And Dr. Don is joining us today to do some follow-up on all of our sort of bathroom safety and hand washing topics that we've been talking about the last few weeks and set the record straight on that, as well as do our challenge with us, which we will get to in a few minutes. And we did, of course, introduce Dr. Don in the after show of last week's episode, and he set the challenge up with us and taught us how to do a little bit of science. And if you're curious to hear that, you can go to giveusyourfuckingmoney.com. You give us $5 a month on our Patreon, and that gives you access to a whole second episode of Do By Friday every week, where you can hear our funny hijinks like preparing Petri dishes with Dr. Don. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Don.
Hey, Max, it's a real pleasure to be here.
All right. Now edit in the rest of the show, all the stuff that we talked about.
Do you want to get right into the challenge? I think my Petri dishes are leaking.
I need to get
under
these
the
out
table.
of my office as soon as possible.
All right. Well,
So, did we want to ask? Did you have Max? I'm guessing you've got some science questions for Dr. Don.
well,
am I right?
I really do, but I actually think maybe we should get into the challenge because it does kind of provide a nice segue into all of our topics.
and then we could also put these outside and not have them in our where we are anymore.
Yeah. Well, all right. I mean, so this week was my challenge, and we've been talking a lot about hand washing, and we were talking about the dryers that suck in the
Fecal miasma. Max?
Yeah, they suck in the diarrhea particles and create a miasma of fecal particles. So anyway, I had sort of secretly conspired to have Dr. Don join us last week with a challenge. Dr. Don, would you tell people about the challenge that we did? What exactly did we do?
Sure. Well, the idea was that we were all sent Petri dishes, or we were sent sterile Petri dishes. We were sent some special elixir to pour into those Petri dishes and sterile swabs. And the specific kind of Petri dishes and liquid that we ordered would polymerize when we poured it in. And we went through in the after show. We went through instructions on swabbing, and we brainstormed some ideas on things we wanted to swab. I think Max, you and I were really anxious to use all 30 to collect as much data as we could. I think Merlin and Alex were maybe a little bit less enthusiastic, and the results are interesting, and I think it might require some interpretation. And like any kind of science experiment, you'd never really know what's going to happen. One of the notes that I had prepared in thinking about the after show last week was I always love that experience when a graduate student comes into my office for the first time and has to explain to me how the very simple experiment that I asked them to do didn't work. And that's a rite of passage for all graduate students. And so just FYI, it never works. And that's okay. And we can talk about what worked and what didn't work and maybe why and talk science.
Can I ask for some or provide or maybe ask for some context? You sent us a very useful link to, and this is in show notes, you should be able to find this. You sent us a link to the instructions for doing this. So what we got, it's called is it correct? It's called a restaurant swab kit. Is that correct?
That's how the company markets it. Yep.
And so, but it was interesting because in reading that article, because I always read the manual, it sounds like what you do normally, what they're the protocol they're describing for using the restaurant swab kit is you go in and you spring it on them, and you walk up to the dishwasher or the sous chef and you say, "Let me swab your hands," and you do before and after. Like you get their hands in situ, as you say, and then you have them go wash the shit out of their hands, and then you do like a before and after. Is that one of the ways that this is used? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely. And the idea is then that you'll sort of critique their hand washing. Now, I don't think that's a particularly good tool for teaching hand washing. And one of the things that, and we can also talk about this, if you want to teach somebody hand washing, there's a much less expensive, much more immediate way to do that with something called glow germ, which is these fake fluorescent bacterial particles that you can put on your hands.
Are they like plaque pills? Is it like a shame pill?
Yeah, it's like plaque pills except for hand washing, and it's a lot more fun and it's immediate feedback, and it's probably more realistic and representative and helpful. But I mean, whatever. I mean, this was a means to an end in terms of us being able to swab our keyboards and et cetera.
Well, the first swab I want to talk about is I think this was the first one on our list, which was to swab our hands when they were dirty, and then to go wash your hands and then swab them again when they were clean. Did everyone do that experiment? Can we talk about?
Yes.
So
this was probably the single most perplexing result that I had.
So I want to talk about that one. So let me describe what I have here. So I had mine, and then Veronica came and did the swabs with me too. And so I have
just for our listeners' sake, just so people know, so you can visualize. Well, you know what a petri dish looks like. It looks like it's about 3.5, 4 inches in diameter, and it's got a top and a bottom. Mine are taped, and what we've done is on each one of them we've written what it was that was swabbed in the stuff called total count, and then pour it in. So in each case, you can go in and how would you describe the pattern that gets created?
Well, I would say it's going to be random, right? I mean, it really depends on how well you swirled it and what you sampled, etc.
But there should be a pattern. Like some of mine are very. I'll describe it as dusty looking. It's like so you described this in the after show last time, Dr. Dunn. I'm sorry, this is just such a visual thing. You described this last time that when you use this total count stuff and it sits there, it sits for a while, it sets up in the medium, you flip it over, and then within 2 days something happens as a result of you're essentially multiplying the number of bacteria in there to make them more visible. Is that what it is?
Right. So imagine you have 10 bacterial cells that end up in this matrix. They're going to distribute themselves randomly. They're going to be sort of suspended in stasis in this agar or this nutrient medium. And then each of those 10 cells over time, as they absorb nutrients from the environment, from the Petri plate nutrient environment, they're going to double. And so one is going to become 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, etc. And of course, the 10 start out being microscopic. You can't see them. They're microorganisms, right? But eventually, each microorganism becomes a macroscopic colony, which is each of those colonies that you see on your Petri plate is probably composed of millions of bacteria, right? And so those 10 colonies turn into 10 million, but they're clustered into those 10 clumps. And then you basically sit there with your clicker or your counter or if you're doing science and you say, okay, I've got 10 bacteria on this plate. I've got 8 on this plate. I've got what we call TMTC, too many to count on this plate, et cetera, et cetera.
TMTC.
Yeah,
Dr.
TMTC,
Nam, what do you think of my
technical term.
what do you think of my proposal? I mean, I look at these colonies of bacteria; they're growing out of control, and I think that what's needed is that we have to restore balance. And my plan would be to kill half of the bacteria in every Petri dish.
Well,
I think if you think through it, it's just reasonable.
In the mouthus of bacteria.
one of the really interesting things, and I apologize for being a little bit nerdy and scientific, one of the things that we have to understand about bacteria is if you kill 50% of the bacteria to a microbiologist...
This is why I didn't like the movie. You can't kill half the bacteria. It doesn't even make any sense.
Dr. Don, instead of killing half the bacteria, what if I had put in twice the amount of agar? If I had the power, right, wouldn't I just give them more food?
Yeah, or like wouldn't you even just go ahead and just, if you had the power, wouldn't you just retire without killing any of the bacteria? You could still have a nice back porch.
Well, if they're good bacteria, it's fine, you know?
I see. You're a eugenicist with the bacteria.
Yeah, well, if it's salmonella and it's going to make me sick...
Is that a Jewish name? Max, is that a Jewish name, salmonella?
Well, the salmonella bergs.
Oh, God, this is taking a turn.
Now, what if here's the thing is, I think that the really good plan would be to kill half the bacteria, but then the remaining half, give them no memory of the half that I killed. Because, do you see what I'm saying? Because then they wouldn't get mad and try to kill me.
Oh,
and there wouldn't have to be a second movie. That's a really good idea.
Damn it.
Okay, can I talk about the hands, please? Or wait, I think Dr. Don might have actually had a serious point he was trying to make. I'm sorry.
Well, no, the serious point that I was trying to make is when you're thinking about microorganisms, it doesn't make sense to think about halves, right? It makes sense to think about orders of magnitude. And so a 50% reduction is meaningless to a microbiologist. Really, you want to talk about orders of magnitude reduction. And so rather than worrying about the exact number of bacteria on our plates, what really matters is, do you see 1? Do you see 10? Do you see 100? Do you see 1,000? Right? Like those are the kind of differences that are meaningful microbiologically. And I think that may help to kind of understand maybe some of what might be confusing or apparently complicated results.
Would you say that what we sort of made was a simulation? Because normally it would not reproduce in this way. So really, these microorganisms are living in a simulation.
But it would in your body, Alex. It would in your body.
Okay, fine.
That's the point.
Fine. Okay.
Oh, shit, dog. They got a whole glow germ kit on Amazon.
Oh,
it comes
I
with a
have
flashlight.
already ordered it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh
That's
my God,
obviously
I'm so
this is a forthcoming challenge. Okay, I want to talk about hand washing. Please, can I talk about hand washing now?
Yes.
Okay, I just want my treat. So, all right. So now, Dr. Don, I put some pictures in the chat, and I have Max's,
just so you know, it's a live photo.
I have Max's dirty hands and Veronica's dirty hands.
Balls.
I have Max's dirty hands and Veronica's dirty hands. Now, on yours, you got what I saw on the internet, which is a little colony of red dots that you could sort of point to and count. And what I have are sort of muddy circles in the solution, and those muddy circles do correlate with where I would expect the dirtiest swabs to be. But it's not how yours look. What does that mean?
I'm not following you. And again, this is all visual, and we're not in the same place, so it's a little bit confusing. But if you are getting, I did get some plates that had those swirls, and I suspect
you sent us your wet dog. It looks kind of like it looks like a wet dog a little bit. That's a live photo, just so you know, Dr. Don.
Yeah, sorry. How do I? You can explain to me how I fix that on another podcast, maybe.
Okay.
So if you click on the picture, the first picture I sent, that's Mac's dirty hands. Do you see on the around at like noon on that petri dish?
You're getting some spotting down at 5:30.
There's a sort of a dark.
That looks like a mold colony, right? It's kind of black with a
Yes.
fuzzy white around the outside.
Yeah, so
that looks like mold.
So nearly all of mine have those mold in them, and I have no other interesting results.
Max, you might have sick building syndrome.
Yeah,
as a person.
Yeah, I mean, and those molds might. Yeah, you might have done it wrong, but it's okay because we learned about molds.
Well, there's one important fact that I gleaned from the
What is
instructions.
the mold? Wait, I'm sorry. What does it mean that I have the mold in there? Because not all of them have the mold. So my dirty hands have the mold, but my clean hands don't have the mold.
Well, and this is why I know we could do this all over again and do another challenge. If we really wanted to study hand washing, the glow germ is much more effective teaching tool. The problem with this particular experiment is it's dependent upon you to do the technique correctly. It's dependent on where you swab on your hands, and really we're using. It's much more. This particular technique is much more able to pick up, so for example, we've done some experiments in my laboratory on hand washing, but before we do those experiments, we load people's hands up with a non-pathogenic microorganism. These experiments that we did use the natural microorganisms on our hands, and so the numbers might not actually be that different, just because, if you start with really clean hands and then you wash your hands, well, they're going to be about the same level of dirtiness afterwards.
But what I'm saying is, I did 14 swabs, and I think, let's say 5 of them are like, I would anticipate them being very dirty. Like I swabbed some really gross stuff, right? And on all the gross ones, I have the mold. And on all the clean ones, I have no mold.
Well, maybe you were swabbing things that had a lot of mold. Actually, the one place where I saw quite a bit of mold was my wife kind of got a little bit involved in the challenge, and she said, "Hey, would you swab my yoga mat?" And I swabbed her yoga mat.
No!
Would you swab my yoga mat?
So someone got a new yoga mat, I assume.
So on mine, the result that I see is on my dirty hands, which, I think, what did we do on that Saturday? I think Veronica and I both went out to, brunch, and then we came into the office. So, I had some just normal brunch germs on my hands. So I have a little mold colony going there, and Veronica has about half that amount of mold. She has one order of magnitude less than the amount of mold that I have. And then we both went and washed our hands, and those dishes, I don't really see anything, honestly. They look very clean.
Right, and that's what I would expect. So I'll send you the yoga mat one in a minute, but
okay.
I'm gonna send you another one.
Now, did anyone else see anything interesting in their hand washing?
Oh yeah, I mean, okay, so it's hard for me to tell which ones. Oh, there's my control. Yeah, for sure. I sent you mine with the hands, and the clean hands, quote unquote clean hands. They definitely got some colonies going on. The dirty hands. It's a little bit Neil deGrasse Tyson. There's some kind of a galaxy going on with the dirty hands. So that one definitely came through.
Man, I have to say, none of mine did I get that speckled bacterial pattern. Alex's are a disaster. Not only did she not get anything growing, but hers are leaking. There's liquid coming out of them.
They look like they're sweating. Are they perspiring?
Well, I'm wondering if maybe there's just exactly the same amount of bacteria on everything I swabbed. That could be a thing, right?
No, because you didn't grow any bacteria, and there's liquid coming out of them. It's leaking.
Let me ask you this.
That is the one I flipped wrong.
After you did the swab and you put it into the total control bottle, did you bang it around the sides real good?
I think that's where I went wrong. I did not swab thoroughly.
I think you need to loosen what's on the swab by banging it against the sides.
Huh.
Yeah, and to Merlin's point, if you get a clump off the swab, and then you don't, so you need to get it off the swab, and then you need to swirl it around in the total count bottle. And if you don't do that, and then you just simply pour it into the Petri plate, then you may get those galaxy formations, because what's happening is that you've just sort of got a clump of bacteria that haven't been fully spread out yet.
Oh, so they're very
I
pretty.
swirled the hell out of mine, and I did rub it on the side. I did sort of scrape it on the sides. I don't know.
Oh, Dr. Don, is that your sample? POOP?
Well, let's just say, there's two people that live in the house and there's two dogs, so you can guess.
Okay.
That's a hell of a sample. Dr. Don, where did you incubate your samples?
Actually, I thought that was going to be the biggest problem because we've had a cold snap here in New Jersey, and we turned the heat off in the house, just so because it doesn't get that cold. And it was just honestly, it was either on my TiVo or it was on my desk in my office or on a table. So it really
Mine definitely could have been warmer, I think.
Alex and I set up a folding table in the server room, and the server room is I would say it's probably 78 to 80 degrees in there most of the time.
No, 72 to 78.
72 to 78, okay. Oh, did you put a thermometer in there?
Yes, I care very much about our server room.
Good for you. It's 72 to 78 in there, and then, no natural light or anything like that, and the lights are off most of the time.
Look at that.
Oh, my God.
So let me talk about hand cleaning before we move on to the other ones. So, okay, so we've talked a lot in past weeks about the hand dryers that blow the fecal particles onto your hands. We've sort of Alex and I've questioned about the soap that we have in the office and the soap that you find in public restrooms. I don't know where I literally have so many questions about this. I don't even know where to start. But could you kind of walk us through, like, knowing everything that you know, how should we be using a public bathroom, a public restroom? How should we be washing our hands in a public restroom?
Wow, as I think I have said at some point, I would really love to play a game of Dungeons and Dragons where I'm the dungeon master and you guys have to get out of a public restroom, right?
We did a whole back to work like that.
That's what made me think of it. So
we basically did a public. Dan and I played a public restroom as a module. It was basically an entire adventure to see how you get into and out of a bathroom, without having the dragon slay you.
I think that we might want to save this for the end of the show, but I got an email from Dr. Don, which I didn't see until yesterday because I completely ignored my personal email for about a month. But you will be in Chicago in July, and I wonder if we could sort of live out this fantasy of like, all right, guys, now go swab this. Now go, I don't know, maybe a glow challenge, but...
Could he wear one of those Sorcerer's Apprentice hats?
Oh, of course.
Oh, my God. I did get a galaxy. I didn't even see it until just now.
Which one?
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
We're talking about wizards.
Which one?
Oh, my God. I swabbed a kombucha. And that thing is fucking popping off in here. There's an entire civilization of bacteria in here. It is a living beverage.
Okay,
oh
now,
my
are you
God.
still doing hand washing, or are we getting serious about this?
I'm sorry, guys. No. I do want to know hand washing. I just got excited. I'm sorry.
Well, and Dr. Don also shared a paper with me about the titled "Influence of Soap Characteristics and Food Service Facility Type on the Degree of Bacterial Contamination of Open Refillable Bulk Soaps," and that
Rolls
made me
right off the
so
tongue, doesn't it?
anxious. I just closed it, and I'm like, nope.
We've got Dr. Don here, so could you give us some talk us through like what our best practice is for really cleaning the shit out of our hands.
Yeah, like what are our character classes? Just hit points, just general abilities. Do I have any cantrips? Like, how many spell slots do I get?
So we study hand washing in my lab, and I sometimes feel bad when I talk to audiences, including professional and lay audiences, because I know there are people in the audience that maybe are a little bit like overly concerned about germs. And I guess the bottom line is like don't worry too much, but of course, if you have poop on your hands, get the poop off your hands. And if you
Just the
can
big
wash
stuff.
your
You get the big stuff.
well,
right?
Let me make sure I'm writing this down correctly.
What if it's a
get
smear?
the poop off
like
your
if
hands.
you've got like a little blueberry on there, you can take it off. But what if it's a smear?
You use soap and use water, and then
Okay.
and then wash for 20 seconds. That's the professional recommendation.
Do you have a song you like to sing when you're washing your hands?
I don't, but often people will say "Happy Birthday" twice or the ABC.
I sing the bridge from the Big Star song "September Girls."
There you go.
Sometimes I do it twice.
And then if you're still concerned, use hand sanitizer. And then of course, I mean, and there's another article that was recently published, which I put a link to in notes. Deposition of bacteria and bacterial spores by bathroom hot air hand dryers, and certainly these air hand dryers can be problematic. I prefer to use a paper towel if one is available, as I think I shared earlier today on Twitter. If there's not, I might use the hot air hand dryer, depending on how I feel, or I might just wipe my hands on my pants, and again, assuming my pants are clean.
Now,
So-
you guys have seen, I think
wow.
we've talked about this before, but there's a very popular TED Talk called like How to Wash Your Hands. And he talks about just sort of you flick your hands like 7 times before you get the paper towel. And I do that, and that is a fucking game changer. It makes the hand drying if you just do 7 flicks into the sink, it makes your hand, it gets an unbelievable amount of water off of your
Totally. It would
hands.
be like taking your bowls out of the dish sink and putting them right into the cupboard without shaking out the water. It's crazy. And I got to be honest with you, I don't want to sound like a weirdo, but if I'm in some situation where all I got is a fucking Dyson blade, I'm going to be shaking the shit out of those motherfuckers. No way is my hand going into the dirt toaster. I'll put them in here. Try not to touch the sides.
that thing-
I get to roll a saving throw. Fuck you.
That thing is just a little incubator. It basically is a giant petri dish. It's like at a nice,
Why don't
comfortable
we just
germ
have a big
temperature.
bucket of poop? Dry your hands in here. It's okay. It's science. He's English. Give me a fucking break.
Let me get some. I want some straight answers from Dr. Don here. Does soap matter?
So, yes or no? Does soap matter? Is that what
Soap
you're
doesn't
asking?
even matter.
Well, I'm sure that it does, but what are you looking for? What are the characteristics?
Well, so
that you're
there's
looking for?
2 issues, right, which we should separate. First of all, we should separate the work that we've done on bulk soap dispensers or open refillable soap dispensers, which are just a horror that should be banned, in my
Oh,
opinion.
no, it really,
right?
that's what I guessed. Is that really true?
Oh,
Well,
no.
So this is the
sometimes,
sort of
yes.
industrial.
I hope that was being weird, Dawn.
This is the sort of-
because you touch it with dirty hands,
I
right?
wanted
No.
it to
The
me
issue
to be
with these
paranoid.
open refillable soap dispensers is that they get colonized by bacteria. The good news is that there are kinds that have the little bag and box. Those are okay, right? But the ones that you open the top and you pour in the soap, those can be problematic.
That's what we have at the office.
We've made a huge
You should change
mistake.
those. At least before I come to visit.
Wash your hands with this.
I've been washing my hands with those for.
Oh God!
I've been
for
washing my
over
hands with
2
those for
years.
3 years.
Oh my God!
If you want to
Okay,
clean your, if you
oh.
want to brush your teeth, you can just lick the bottom a little bit.
Oh my God! And now I just keep gasping and putting my hands over my mouth. What am I doing? Oh, okay, no.
Oh boy.
And,
this is
you
real
know,
bad, you
not
guys.
to call
That's
you out,
so
Max,
bad.
but
you
in
guys,
the old
you guys need
office,
to stop the call. You guys need to make some phone calls right now about getting some shit changed.
Max, who made the decision about the Dyson? Who made the decision
Someone
about what?
got a Dyson Airblade from a family member who owned
No.
a real estate company or something. Like
Oh
it was
my
like
God.
given to us.
But
So we had someone when we were moving into our old office. Someone gave us a Dyson Airblade.
Talk about a monkey's paw. Jesus Christ.
And I knew everybody in that office very well, so their shit was just percolating on my hands all day. Every day.
Okay, I understand what you're saying about the open refillable containers. Beyond that, does the type of soap matter that you would find in a bathroom?
Well, so again, I'm sorry, this is going to be complicated. So, so we've done some research on antibacterial soaps, funded by the Soap and Detergent Association. So if that makes me a corporate shill, I'm a corporate shill. But the antibacterial soaps do work better than the plain soaps. However, FDA has recently stopped is not letting those be sold for consumer use anymore. The issue of whether they can still be used in food service is up for debate, and they can still be used in
that's
hospitals.
because of you don't want to breed antibiotic resistance.
Yeah,
germs.
it's because of concerns about triclosan and also environmental accumulation of triclosan, which may have some merit. But again, my research has focused on do they really have benefit or not. And certainly, depending upon how dirty your hands are and depending upon your technique, certainly washing for longer is better and washing with soap is better. But again, the devil is in the details, and also realize that different people are different, right? Like in other words, we go and we do experiments in the laboratory where we study 20 different people, and there's a lot of variability from person to person, both in terms of technique as well as the characteristics of their skin, et cetera. And so it's not, it's a variable process.
Now,
from person to person.
what I'll do if I go into a public restroom or somewhere where I'm a little bit sort of suspect of the setup, or if my hands are really dirty, even if I'm at home, I'll blast my hands twice. So I'll get them in there. I'll get the soap. I'll wash, rinse, and then reset, do it again.
That's good, but what I would suggest as an alternative is to use some alcohol-based hand sanitizer if you want it, because when you wash your hands, and this is a little bit informed by science, but it's also a little bit of my opinion, so I want to try to separate that. So washing again with soap is going to be good. In my opinion, I think using hand sanitizer is going to be better just because it's going to be a sort of a different technique, right?
Yeah.
Now, but it is. Could you do the hand sanitizer first and then wash your hands with the soap? Because I don't want a film of Purell on my hands.
Well, and again, I have to say, I know I'm friends with folks at the Gojo Corporation that make Purell, and so
Wow.
well, I mean, no offense to your friends, but it's a disgusting.
You're really bogged down in big soap.
Yeah,
so bogged down, so bogged down.
No, I don't want to offend your corporate masters, but it's a disgusting product. I cannot stand putting Purell in my hands. It smells terrible. It leaves a gross film on your hands. Do you ever Purell your hands and then you go to eat a banana or something, and it's just you get that bitter Purell film in your mouth?
I've grown to enjoy it over the years.
Whoa, Max, that's a side of you I hadn't seen before.
It's really gross.
Well, anyway, so sometimes, see, here's the thing. If your hands are dirty, right, if you have poop on your hands, or if you have like hamburger or raw chicken on your hands.
I'm literally pouring 91% alcohol on my hands right now.
But
just this conversation.
But here's the thing, Merlin.
Oh no,
60%.
It's too late. It's already on my hands.
60% is better than 90%. As odd as
Shut
that
your
may seem.
dirty mouth. It can't be.
Science.
Whoa.
Science.
What?
This is what I use
my
for cleaning my
God.
mouse and my surfaces, but you say it's not as good for my hands.
60. The science says that 60% is better than 90%.
Why would that
be?
Well,
something about
because there's more water in it.
Well, it's something about the nature of what the ethanol does to the cells of the microorganisms and the relative concentration of that versus water. And I don't think we completely understand it, but the experimental evidence.
You come into my house with that dirty mouth and give me a fucking turns out. Jesus Christ.
Can I put a theory? Can I propose a theory? I've thought about this for almost 30 seconds since you told me, and I have a theory.
What's your theory?
Is it possible that the 90% evaporates so quickly that it doesn't fully interact with all of the organisms, whereas the 60% evaporates a little more slowly, and it really can get in there and destroy
more of a
everything?
caring lover.
I'd say think about it for another 30 seconds and then
No,
we
you
can
didn't.
talk about it. I don't think you're right, but it's a good hypothesis. There's no bad hypotheses, Max.
Dr. Don, have you ever tested the outside door handle on a restroom where you got to open it with your hand like an animal? Because my theory is that's the one that gets me. It's all the things you have to touch while you're quote unquote getting clean, including the faucets, the taps, including the dingus that you hit for the soap, including like getting your hand into the dirt toaster, including trying to open the goddamn door. Like, am I right to or wrong to guess that is a source of a ton of bad hand monsters?
Well, I think a ton might not be accurate, but certainly that is a point of cross-contamination.
Is it normal for me to think it's weird?
No.
Okay.
No, I think about these things. I mean, unless I'm weird. I guess, whatever. Weird in the same
Let me see
way.
if Postmates can bring me some 60%.
Yeah, that's my other thing. Where can it's kind of like I've heard a lot of science that I don't believe about what's it? Like sunscreen and stuff. How you should switch it up. Is it kind of like where would I buy 60%?
You got to have leg day, right? I mean, you got to switch it up. You don't just exercise.
So I'm sorry. So are
Sun
you?
off
I'm a little bit lost here. So are you saying that instead of Purell, you put alcohol on your hands?
Me or Don?
Anyone? Could anyone explain this to me? I'm lost. I don't know what you're talking about.
Purell is just, now you jump in because you know science, Dr. Don. My sense is that Purell is just a vehicle, a scented vehicle for isopropyl alcohol mostly.
Well, and again, not to be an apologist for the industry, but it's not just about scent.
Here we go.
But it's about things to soften your hands and things to basically, because just pouring pure alcohol in your hands is probably not a good idea. But they do formulate these products. They put other things in there to keep your hands soft and to make them nice smelling. Which again, maybe Max doesn't like, when he's about to eat a banana.
My feeling about Purell is that it's a kind of Agent Orange style defoliant. So it's like you can't just put the harsh chemicals on the trees to flush out the villagers. You need the stuff that makes it stick.
It's got to jelly it.
That's right.
Jelly it up.
Yes, it has to have the additives.
Well, and then also you don't want to kill the trees, right? Just the villagers.
Well, you got to do what you got to do. That's what Robert McNamara says. If you want a clean hand, you got to destroy the village.
Hey, we're not gonna reduce the population by 1/2 without breaking a few eggs.
I mean, it just seems like there's so many other things you could have done. Okay, now what about God? I get so fucking mad because I keep thinking about okay, here's this thing that's nominally clean, but to interact with it, everybody touches exactly the same part of it when their hands are dirty. Mm-hmm. So when somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, you ready to be a clean boy? Let me give you some of this Purell." My thought is, I think not. That little soap nipple you're rubbing all over my hands touched so many. It's been to Gen Con. It's been over in the board game area, and now you want that to touch my hand? Am I wrong to worry about that?
One, real quick, I like that Merlin knows what Gen Con is, too. I've been texting everybody in the office, and my good platonic life partner, Kara, brought me Purell, which I now know is bad.
Give me that Purell.
But I just need...
I need it. I've never needed it. I've never needed it more in my life.
Oh, boy, that feels good.
You guys, I'm seeing, I don't know about where you are, I'm seeing Glow Germ 1003 Gel Products Experiment Kit, free Prime, free same-day delivery.
Oh, let me check.
All
check.
right.
Well, we're not... You're close to
I'm sorry.
Bezos.
I need an answer on my question, which is...
I don't think you want an answer.
don't.
No, I really do need an answer on this.
I think you're a searcher,
Dr. Dom,
and you like not
would
knowing.
it be so here's my problem. I do not want to wash my hands and then put the Purell on, because then I'm left with the sticky floral napalm on my hands that I don't want to go through life smelling like that, and I don't want to have that kind of a life. But would it also be equally effective to do the Purell and then wash my hands?
So a couple of different points here. First of all, as I was saying before, if your hands are actually dirty, then you should use soap, because the Purell is just going to kill bacteria. It's not going to actually really be very effective for cleaning your hands. And so use the soap. Use the soap first, okay, to get the gunk off, the crud, the poop, the chicken, the beef off your hands, okay? And then wash your hands, and then Purell, and then if you're concerned about the lingering smell, then maybe just a water rinse. But the other question I have to ask, Max, is that name brand Purell, or is that just no name knockoff hand sanitizer? Because I find that the formulation and the brand matters.
This really sounds like
Here
big soap. Two, it's definitely brand name Purell.
Yeah, I've got a clear little thing here. It's 2 fluid ounces of Purell brand refreshing gel. It says kills more than 99.99% of germs and leaves hands feeling soft. And then it furthermore says the #1 brand in hospitals. Boy, I had to... Now, let me ask you... all right, I have a couple more questions. Number one, you know how
Is it
sometimes...
about hand washing, Max?
You know how sometimes in movies there's a woman who's upset and Anthony Hopkins comes along and he's got a handkerchief in his pocket and he takes it out and he offers it to her?
Oh, Jesus.
That's one of the most disgusting things I can think of.
Even if it is quote unquote clean, it's been fucking in Anthony Hopkins' pocket all day.
Don't touch
Here's
that in
the thing from my pocket. Put it on your face.
Don't touch that
Here,
to your
have
face.
some keys.
Yeah.
Gross.
But someone, the whole point of that is that it's his thing that he blows a snot rocket into, right?
But even if it's clean, it's still disgusting. Oh, here's a piece of cotton I rub body things on, and I keep it in my pocket to impute.
It would be weird if there was a crying woman in our office and I got her toilet paper off of the toilet paper roll and was like, "Here, dry your eyes."
My lady. You get down on one knee. You lean down on your tactical jacket.
Just a wad of toilet paper. Here.
Stop crying. Okay, listen. Okay, so Max wants to know about hand washing. Dr. Don, is it possible? And I know you're in the pocket, literally in the handkerchief pocket of big soap, so say whatever's not going to enrage your corporate masters. But it seems to me is one thing that you're getting at here is that washing your hands does one kind of work and sanitizing your hands does a different kind of work. Is that part of it?
That you've nailed it, right? So it's
Holy shit.
What we say in the food industry is you can't clean a dirty, you can't sanitize a dirty surface, right?
You can't clean a dirty boy.
you have to clean the surface first, get the crud off. Okay.
Let me use this sponge I've been using for 6 weeks.
Wait, I got
this sponge to make things clean.
I got a sponge picture I want to send you guys. Yeah.
You can take the boy out of the dirt,
sponges.
but you can't take the dirt out of the boy.
Max and Merlin
you can really get in there and sponge him hard, but it's still going to have some.
You guys are really digging in for show titles. I have to say. Okay.
Well, what I do
My
is
God.
I keep more sponges. This is so bizarre. I keep more sponges than we need around. Okay. Now, you may know when I was taught to use a Macintosh, the first thing they said to me is when you're writing a document, save every paragraph and every time you think of it. So I do the same thing with sponges, where as soon as I look at a sponge and I go, huh? I get a look at that guy. I'm like, fuck this guy. I take out a Sharpie and I put a big X on the yellow side of the yellow and green sponge. And that is now not to touch food things ever. That is now, that's a dirty sponge now used for dirty boy things. You can clean things that never touch food, but the things that you use to clean your dishes should always be a nearly new sponge. Now, a lot of people, they think they're being tidy. So they take the sponge, they squeeze it out just a little bit, and then guess what? No. They got a little bowl they keep it in.
No.
And they put the bowl, they put it into, and then it just sits there.
Oh,
now,
no.
Dr. Don, I know you're mobbed up with big soap, but is that a good idea to have a sponge that's sitting in a container?
No, you want the soap. Well, first of all, you want to change the sponges as often as they need to be changed. You want to put them, either microwave them as we talked about in the after show last week, or put them in the automatic dishwasher. And then for sure. I mean, let them dry out, right? I mean, because you don't want them to stay wet. Don't leave them in.
Would
the
you
sink.
say it's a good idea to not squeeze them out at all and let them just sit in the sink? Is that a good idea?
No.
Okay, I'll share that.
But please don't.
I don't really mind. I don't have an opinion one way or another. But if there's science involved, maybe I can make a case.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
And I have to apologize.
It's been
guys.
here all day.
I think
Oh my God.
It's been here all day in the sink where all the food parts are.
and food, right? Like that's the bacteria need nutrients. Yeah.
How's your hand washing game feeling, Max? You feeling like you've learned a lot?
Well, so I'll say we had this sort of cataclysmic like flu season. I think it was bad nationwide. It was in Chicago. It was like especially hit hard. Almost everyone I knew got the flu, and I really worked myself into a panic about it. Where like every time I would sneeze, I would have a panic attack because I'm like, I am getting the flu right now, and I was very, 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 very anxious about it all winter. And I did a couple of things so I did not get the flu. Spoiler. So I did get the flu shot this year. First time in a long time I got the flu shot. And, who knows? Maybe that helped. Basically I was aware of when I had hot hands. This is a thing, right, Dr. Don?
I
like
it's
you should
gotta
go
be
to
a medical
Vegas?
term.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it's like, so like anytime I would basically leave the house, like if I go to the grocery store, if I touch anything, you're just aware that your hands are, you have to be careful. You have to,
hot.
Yeah, they're hot. Your hands are hot. And you can't touch them to your face or eat anything. You're not going to prepare
Max,
food.
not to put too fine a point on it, but if you were to sit down and visit a deuce upon the throne, and you did happen to get a smear on your hand, you wouldn't just walk around with that and go, "I'm sure this will be fine."
No,
that's a situation with hot hands. It's just you can't see it with hot hands, but you might.
I mean,
feel
at a minimum, you got to brush that off on your jeans.
on your clean jeans.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I experience hot hands, Max. Like I've been walking the dog, and I got to pick up his poop and put it in a bag, right? And then when I come in from that dog walk, I know I didn't touch any poop, but the poop was on the other side of the plastic bag, right? And so I think about, okay, hot hands, right? I got to go in, put some sanitizer on, or wash my hands, and yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think that it's been, so I'll say since I started doing this, and then I also switched to my double hand wash technique. So wet the hands, blast them with the soap, give it a good rinse it off. Blast it with the soap again, go in for a second round, and then I dry them. So since I've been doing my patented double hand wash technique and then just practicing hot hands, I have to say not only did I not get the flu, but I have not gotten sick one time, and it's been a long stretch of me not getting sick. And the only thing I can really think of that I've changed at all is that
you've adopted the hot hands technique.
I've been very, very aware of my hands. Like every time I eat anything, I go wash my hands. Also, like another one is like anytime I'm in a doctor's office, this is a great life tip for anyone. Anytime I'm in a doctor's office for any reason, even if it's just an office visit, if I'm in the little waiting room or in the little, the little room where the doctor comes to see you, you know how there's a little sink there and a little station? Just avail yourself of it. Just go wash your hands right there. Like you probably touched something.
I always think about everything about going to the pediatrician sucked when I was a kid because I had a mind like a child. And I like childish things. I was a little kid. You go in with the sniffles. And you know, one of the only good things about going to the doctor's office to me then was you got to play with really good Fisher-Price toys. Where the doctor, Dr. Dine... hang on. Dr. Dine had popped for the whole airport set with the garage. So you could go down and get your little people and make them go up and down. There's like a little escalator, and it was so fun. And now I think about those conditions, and I feel like I just need to pour rubbing alcohol on my head right now. Because basically, what is the condition of that? Every single child that touched that was sick. Every single child.
There's this new trend, I think, that doctors' offices have like granola bars and Cliff bars. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? It started with bottles of water and then Gatorade. And now it's like a buffet. And why? Why? No. Oh, my God. A vending machine is too much.
I'm with you, Max. Something I realized, like when my daughter started preschool, the preschool that she went to, I thought it was a little nuts, but they were practically manic about hand washing. And this is so anecdotal that it hurts, but this is very anecdotal. But the whole time that she was in preschool, she very rarely got sick because every time there was any transition, by which I mean you go to lunch, you go to classes, you go outside, no matter what, every single transition on both sides of it, you would wash your hands. She did not get sick very much. When she started going to elementary school, when hand washing was not enforced, purely anecdotally, she started getting sick a lot more. And further to your point with the hot hands of 2018, I have been washing the shit out of my hands for the same terrifying reason that I didn't want to get anything. And this is the first time in a pretty long while I did not get sick at all the entire season.
Dr. Don, I don't know if this is probably too big of a question for there to be like a I guess like a scientific answer, but is this a thing? Like, should people in general be washing their hands like way more than we do?
Yeah. So what I often like to say is hand washing is not magic, right? Like, in other words, you're not going to sterilize your hands. But thinking back to my earlier comments about orders of magnitude, what we do know is that if you wash your hands poorly, you're going to have a 90% reduction. If you wash your hands well, you're going to have maybe a 99% reduction. That's a significant reduction in risk, even though it doesn't take it to the level of 99.99999, right? And so, yes, there is a benefit to that. I think what I'm often arguing is in restaurants, if you look at what the FDA code says, it's asking people to wash their hands after every possible scenario where their hands might be contaminated. And there's some evidence that indicates that if people in restaurants actually did that, they'd spend 20% of their day literally at the sink washing their hands, which is
fine with that.
Which
I'm
is
so fine with that.
Well, but here's the thing.
That's because you're in the pocket of big productivity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But mostly what I want people to do is to think about, like, when have I done something that's really, truly risky, right? Have I touched poop? Have I touched raw chicken? Have I put my hands into something that, if I cleaned a sink and really scrubbed down in there, right?
Have I touched toilet seats and shoes and keyboards and phones and door handles? Have I touched all of those things and then put it right next to my coffee like I just did?
Well, how dirty were those things when you tested them, Merlin?
That's a good point. Again, we're back to the Talmud. But it's very unsettling because this is a coffee cup from 1991 that I have washed at least 4 times at this point. So I don't think about that.
Did you test it?
Are we going to get to the real bangers here? Because I got a couple I really want to share.
I want to save. I just have a couple of more.
Oh my
God. Well, whatever. Fine. Get into it. What do you want to talk about? Which one do you want to do?
Do you have another hand washing question?
Let's see.
Remember, Max, he knows a lot about sous vide.
Yes, that is true. Okay, well, I just have a sort of one final like food safety question. So
sure.
When you do, so like for me, like a big one is like the Thanksgiving turkey. Like I'm led to believe that the turkey is an especially. Well, I guess it's like the same as chicken, right? But it's like way bigger and its juice goes everywhere when you're like dealing with the brine and the dry rub and everything. What is so I have like sort of, I'll try and use a plastic cutting board and then, really wash the shit out of that. But, what else should I be doing? Like one step that I do is we have a spray bottle and we have a diluted bleach that we will spray onto everything that came into contact and then sort of, soap and water and then the bleach and wipe that down. Like, is that, I mean, for the home, is that like an appropriate level of precaution?
Yeah, that sounds really good. I mean, just be careful what you're spraying the bleach on because you could stain it. But absolutely, I mean,
no worse than my AirPod speaker.
Yeah,
it's actually HomePod, but
HomePod, Apple balls, whatever.
From the
serious
still make
beers.
from the
sounds fine.
From the hot hands perspective, think about the turkey as also being a source of contamination. So anything
Consider the turkey.
After that turkey touches, that's going to be contaminated, and so you do.
It's a hot hands passing on.
Exactly.
Yeah. I just put my carving. We've got a bunch of boards. We got the one like you got, Max, the overpriced wooden one with the mystery oil. But one I got because we don't actually use it that much because my wife likes it too much. So I got the OXO Good Grips cutting and carving board, and I put that in.
Is
notes.
it wood or plastic?
It's been real. Huh?
Plastic or wood?
Plastic.
I believe that's the one I have, and I got it because the wire cutter said it was the number one cutting board to get, and I liked it so much I got like 4 of them.
Yeah, and it's got you can flip it on either side. One side has a blood gutter, and the other side doesn't, and it stands real nice and it cleans up good.
That's very funny. Okay, another thing I hear food service people talk about in
You could also call it a chicken juice sluice. The juice. Hi. I'm Robert Oxo. Have you tried my juice sluice?
It's a juice moat.
Rejoice.
Hey, you want to get a juice? You have to get a good juice moat on your cutting board.
Hi, I'm Robert Oxo. Are you tired of having your juices run all over your more costly cutting board? Try my less costly cutting board. It's got a juice caboose. Get on that turkey train, you turkey. Hi, I'm Robert Oxo.
Oh God. I hear a thing that I hear chefs talk about a lot, and food service people talk a lot about is the idea that it's okay to
be
eat.
here till 4.
It's going to be a long ass podcast.
Oh my god!
It's-
We
oh my
do
God,
need
it
to
is
get
my
out
calendar.
here at 2
Jesus,
p.m.
it is
Good
12.
Lord.
All right. This will be my last one. So I hear people say it's okay to eat raw beef and fish because when those things, I guess, go bad, they go bad from the inside out. So as long as you clean, take away the outside, make sure the outside is clean, or I don't know, or sear the outside of like a steak, right? Like the inside can be rare, but that is not true for things like pork and chicken, which is why you would not eat, a rare pork or a rare chicken because those would go bad from the inside out. Now I hear that all the time, and it sounds to me like complete bullshit. Is there? Do you know what I'm talking about? Is that a thing?
the fish rots from the head, right? No, it's all bullshit,
Well,
right?
I mean,
There's
just
no-
as a scientist, if people were interested in eating raw pork, how would you recommend they do it? I mean, from a scientific perspective, should they eat the inside first?
They're all, in my mind, they're all equal risk, right? Raw chicken, raw pork, raw fish, raw beef. They're all. There is no difference in
That
those
cannot
organisms.
possibly be.
That can't be true. Are you sure about that?
Because
Because when I make my pho, I put in nearly raw meat. It's basically raw ribeye, and then the hot broth is what kind of cooks it up a little bit.
that's fine. So I guess the question is, how hot is the broth, and how hot is the? I mean, what you should realize about all of those foods, if it's intact,
I heat it for 3.5 minutes after they deliver it.
Okay, so we'd have to collect some data. So
because it's going to be cooled off. You got the bowl. The bowl is going to take off some of the heat, plus all your cool ingredients. It's like a McDLT, Vietnamese style.
Whenever the doctor pauses, I just
I'm
get
sorry.
a shudder.
Please continue.
Oh god.
So you're saying beef, chicken, pork.
right, the inside of those tissues should be sterile, right? Unless it's been like tenderized with needles or something, which is a thing that sometimes happens. But they can all still have parasites, right? So again, the good news is that we typically don't have parasites, especially in the pork supply, because the industry has worked to clean that up. But so the contamination is going to be on the outside. Yeah.
That's because Alex is part of Big
Alex is
Pork.
Let me ask.
Pork,
Can I
yeah.
just ask you your own practices on this? Do you eat sushi?
My personal preference is for the kind of sushi that has cooked ingredients because I like it better. I have eaten the raw fish kind, and as far as I know, I've not gotten sick. I just don't particularly like it.
But you're also not pregnant or nursing.
exactly or elderly or an infant. Yes.
But I don't have to worry about eating. I mean, is that a high risk thing to go out to a sushi restaurant and have raw fish?
Oh, we'll get emails, but it's a higher risk than a cooked fish restaurant.
Oh Jesus!
What about when you go
What
to
about diner
when you
lobster?
go to when you have dinner with Donald Trump? How do you order your steak?
I don't have dinner with Donald Trump. So I will have a steak that is medium. Okay. I will always order my burgers well done, and absolutely for when my kids are grown, but when my kids were small, I would absolutely not let them eat a medium or a rare burger, right? Because that's risky because the meat's chopped up. Steak
And
is
it's
less
also
risky.
multiple cows, right?
Yeah,
I
more.
mean, is that
more
true?
the
What they say the
chopping.
multiple cow part like increases the chance you need one bad apple in the bunch and it messes up everybody?
Well, yeah. So from the one bad apple perspective, yes.
Now, I went to, this is a long story that I won't tell the whole thing, but I found myself a couple years ago, I went to America's Test Kitchen, and I was doing like a film shoot there with our friends at tested.com. And they were making, the recipe that they were showing us on camera was they were making Wisconsin butter burgers. And they had a whole bunch of America's Test Kitchen. You guys know America's Test Kitchen, right?
Yes.
They had a whole bunch of staff people there sort of watching and supervising, and then the on-camera guy. And the guy got out the ground beef, and someone said from the sort of peanut gallery, like, oh, you didn't have that ground at the grocery store, did you? And the guy said, no, I'm not going to take my life into my own hands. And we asked about that, and they were like, well, we've actually tested a bunch of ground beef, and having your beef, buying ground beef from the grocery store that was ground at the grocery store is one of the riskiest food items that you can like get at a grocery store, because I guess because those meat grinders process so much meat that if there's any sort of bacteria or pathogen or whatever, it just gets mixed in. So they are a big advocate of like owning your own meat grinder, making your own ground beef at home.
Well, I guess what's the difference then? I mean, except for maybe the amount. I mean, I guess I would have to say, Max, I would like to see the peer-reviewed research on that, because there's a lot of people that go out and do experiments and then talk about them on the internet. See this show, for example.
Right.
Just maybe.
and
Please don't peer review us.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I would. That could be true, Max, but I would like to see the peer-reviewed research about that. I mean, the bottom line is that if the meat is ground, then the outside's on the inside and the inside's on the outside. Yeah, and then what's the quality of the meat that you're grinding, and then how often do you clean the grinder? Those are all important questions.
It makes sense to me that if you have a clean meat grinder at home and you put, one piece of chuck through it, that you have less of a risk from that than if you're at the grocery store and you have a big industrial grinder and you put 50 pounds of chuck through it, because you're rolling the dice once for your piece of chuck, but 50 times. It's like let's say that you're rolling a D20, and if you roll a 20,
plus just the dirtiness of the device, that maybe they're not making that for their own food. They may not be as fastidious as you are.
Let's just say that when you eat. When you have the ground beef, right? You're every time you eat ground beef, you're rolling the D20, and if it rolls a 1, that's a critical fail, and you get diarrhea. Now, I would rather do that roll once than 50 times. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. No. It absolutely is a probability thing, and I agree with what you're saying. And none of my friends from Big Grocery will probably listen to this podcast and call me out. But I mean, again, it depends upon the grocery store and the quality of their meat, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I mean, your point is well taken, Max.
Okay, so we talked about raw meat, raw fish. Any other grocery store like common like traps or I don't know, things that we should be looking out for that we haven't mentioned?
Well, one thing, just to circle back to the turkey for a minute, the recommendation is you should not. A lot of people think you should wash off your chicken or your turkey in the sink. That's a really bad idea, because all you're doing then is spreading the contamination into the sink.
Whoa, wait. Whoa. Then what's the alternative?
Well, you just should drain the juices carefully, and then just cook it. Right? Because any contamination is, you're not going to, here's the thing, like hand washing, right? If you wash that chicken or that turkey, you're not really going to do a very good job of washing off the bacteria. You're going to do a great job of spreading the bacteria. And then really what you want to do is cook that turkey, cook that chicken. That's what's going to really kill the bacteria for you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, what about
so
this?
Sorry, Alex.
What about when you go and you get your
Haven't
cart?
died yet?
Grocery
And you put
cart.
the little red seat down.
I like when there's one sticky napkin from a sample and like a used condom. You pull the cart out and there's just like a child's diaper in there.
Good place to fuck Target.
You're touching every diaper that's ever been in there. Oh, here, have this little Lysol thing. That'll help. Anyway, I just wanted to say I just think it's disgusting. That's all. Really
You just put
I
your.
really have more
you
of a
just,
comment
yeah,
than
I
a
just
question.
you just go ahead and throw your bananas and avocados right in that cart, right next to the
Oh, I
diaper.
should just put them right in that little red sea where little Jeremy was sitting for 20 minutes. Oh God. Eat right off the tray on the airplane.
Well, this is why we bring our reusable NPR tote bags into the grocery store with us, right? And then we wash them on occasion.
All things considered, right?
Yeah.
All right, I want to get into our samples. So we talked about. So I did clean hands, dirty hands. Veronica did clean hands, dirty hands. Our dirty hands were both pretty dirty. We got for me, I only really got the mold for the most part, but we got substantial mold growth on our dirty hands. The clean hands looks pretty good. I can see a few little spots of something or another, but it's very clear otherwise. You guys have similar results?
I got a gal on clean hands. It's weird. Like my control is pretty clean. So I did one that was just control. And it makes me think the process mostly worked because my control, which you'll see in some of these, is pretty good. Clean hands, gotta tell you. Well, actually, these should be chronologically reversed. The constellation of dirty hands, you can see the galaxy in my dirty hands. And then I went and I thought I did a pretty good job washing my hands to do clean hands. But again, now I'm sitting at this disgusting table, touching all the things. But I got a galaxy out of dirty hands, but hardly any splotches. What'd you get, Alex?
I mean,
you got perspiration
let's
mostly, right?
say in theory I did it right. Both of my before and after hands are immaculate. Yep, we're just gonna go with that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I got similar results. Relatively small number on the quote unquote dirty hands, and then also on the clean hands as well. So, it's just the problem is it's not a well designed experiment. Each person was swabbing in a different way. When we do these experiments in the laboratory, we deliberately load up people's hands with lots and lots of non-pathogenic bacteria, and then we use a sampling method called glove juice, where we basically put some buffer into a glove and then give them a massage.
The phrase glove juice?
Glove juice.
Say glove juice?
Glove juice method. Glove juice method.
That's just okay where you work
Now
to say things like that?
Now
yes.
Jesus Christ.
My control came out crystal clear. I mean, I would eat off of that control.
Oh, God.
Well, and the other thing, did you guys notice? I should have mentioned this in the after show prep stuff. If you pour a little too aggressively, you can get some bubbles in your agar, and those are not colonies, but they're kind of round and they look like colonies, and so you have to be careful.
And that's why you
about
said
that.
to pour. Okay, that's why you directed us to do it the way we did. Okay, I might have done that in some of mine.
I got very little.
Can I call your attention to one of mine? I just texted to you guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I went a little bit rogue. You may recall a little bit before Christmas. December 14th, 2017, we had an episode called I Better Have a Balloon Coming, where the challenge was to eat like the president. And so we had McDonald's delivered to our places, and we took the challenge of trying to eat some Big Macs and filet of fish. Now, mine also, I guess I also got a like a coffee drink. I don't know what it was. I got a McD coffee drink. And the thing is, I'm a busy businessman. I have a lot of things that I need to do during the day, so I haven't had a chance to clean up my office fridge in a while. That did mean I had a McD drink from December.
No.
Oh my god!
In my refrigerator, and I swabbed that, and it's hardly any Galaxy at all. So I mean, I think I could probably keep it for maybe till Christmas. What I did was I went through. So on the top, it had like a kind of a foam, like a whipped cream let's be honest, it had a lot of blue parts on it. I tried to get in around the blue and into the white, and really plunge deep into where the chocolatey coffee beverage would be. And that gave me just a little bit of a Galaxy.
Now, what do you think? Is that because the cold, it sort of retards the growth of the bacteria?
Well, obviously I do, yes. What do you think, Dr. Don? Why isn't my McD dirtier?
Well, yeah, I guess it depends
you
on...
think my McD's dirty?
Well, it seems puzzling, because there are organisms that will... not the ones that make us sick, but there are organisms that will spoil those food products. And so I've got to suspect that there were some bacteria. And then even in the refrigerator since December, I've got to, that makes no sense
It's
to
a
me,
really nice
right?
from Costco. It's a really nice refrigerator.
Well, it is. There is that. There's that art project or whatever where this woman bought like a McDonald's hamburger and has just left it sitting out for like 6 years, and it looks basically the same as when she bought it.
Oh my God, Max, your shoes.
Yeah. Yeah, let's
talk about your shoes.
Let's talk about that. So I sent you two pictures. The first one is my very dirty boys. It's Max's keyboard and Max's shoes. And now, these are I do not see now, and now there's one other one I sent you, which is the kombucha. Now on the kombucha, what you observe is a little galaxy of dark dots, and I think that that's bacteria. Those little pointy guys like glitter, right? That's bacteria.
Yeah, they're.
You've got Alex's condensation. That's the kombucha. You got some mold. Definitely got some moldy boys.
But on my shoes and my keyboard, I do not observe any of the little glittery galaxy patterns.
You don't have a galaxy.
No
right?
galaxy. What I have instead are these big dark mold growths.
Yep.
Well, scroll down a little bit and look at my shoe sole.
Whoa. Whoa.
Whoa.
Oh.
What the hell?
That's I bet that smells delicious. That is bacillus.
It's the sole of a fairly new shoe, but San Francisco's a dirty, dirty city. Now, do I win anything for this? Because mine made in a medulla oblongata of mold.
Dr. Don, what is that?
I would say that's probably bacillus, and it was one that ended up on the top of the auger, and it just spreads like that, and that's a very characteristic pattern. And it
What
smells
is that?
Pretty gross.
What is that?
Oh, but it's weird though, because the soles, if you looked at a photo of them, I'll take a photo of my shoes. They're really clean. They look clean, but I got a
What is
bacillus.
bacillus?
It's just a spore forming bacteria. It's one that you would expect to find on a sidewalk or on a shoe. They form spores. They're very long lasting and persistent in the environment. And they're in a lot of things, but they just have that very characteristic kind of lobe shaped colony. They grow very quickly, and so they'll spread over the top of the plate. So that was probably all from one or two colonies that just got near the top of the plate and then just overgrew the surface.
So, and what do you make of? Oh, look! I think I might have a bacilla too on my shoes. Look at my shoes. Wait, so
La, la, la.
so if you go up to where it says Max's shoes, I'll send
Yeah,
you a
yeah.
better picture. Hang on, you can't see it.
You got some good smudgy boys in here for sure. You got this live photo thing on. I have to wait till it stops. You got a lot of smudgy mold boys. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're seeing the cloudy ones.
Yes. What is that, Dr. Don?
Sorry, I'm looking for it. I don't see it.
It's
It's the one that's turned wrong.
It's the one that's rotated wrong.
It's a live photo.
So it says Max shoes on the top and then Max keyboard on the bottom. It's like four.
Oh,
pictures
got
up.
it. Yes, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, I see it.
So
yeah,
what is
so you got a
happening
lot of stuff on those shoes, and maybe some bacillus too. Yeah, yeah.
Do you have butterfly keys, Max?
Yes. No, I have
Okay.
the new
I think-
Apple keyboard.
Oh, interesting.
The new
okay.
the full one with the number pad on it.
You might need to blow it.
But look at so I just sent you a larger picture of
Yep,
Max shoes, and you see
Yeah,
on
it's a live
top
photo.
around
It keeps moving.
around 10 or 11 o'clock. I think that's a big bacillus colony. You got the lobe.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
11
it's
o'clock
kind
for
of-
the shoes. The cup's 11
It's
o'clock.
kind of blurred out, but yeah, I see it. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's because it keeps moving. It's a live photo.
So
I don't know if you know this, Max. It's a live photo.
Yeah.
I
So be careful. I can hear you guys talking in the background. It's kinda weird.
So what does it mean though that I didn't
Really
get the
upsetting to hear a photo
bacteria,
that
but I
talks.
did get
Seems
but I do have all this
unnecessary.
mold?
Harry
What
Potter.
does that mean?
You're in a galaxy, Harry.
Sorry,
What
can you
is it-
repeat the question,
Yeah,
Max?
what does it mean? Why is it that I didn't get on all my environmental ones? I didn't get any bacteria, but I did get lots
Well,
of mold.
it
What does
could
that mean?
it could be that you contaminated the plates when you were making them, but because they weren't on the control samples, that kind of rules that out. You may just live in a very moldy part of Chicago, Max.
Maybe this building is old as hell. Maybe there's just mold everywhere in the building. The ones I did at home, did not grow the mold. And,
interesting.
And the ones that I did, so here's an example, the kombucha, right? I sent you a picture of the kombucha. No mold in that. That I did get the bacterial pattern just like Dr. Don's.
I mean, this obviously I'm going to ask you about humidity. Did you have a hygrometer in your server room? Do you know if there?
Oh, no.
I guess what I'm asking is, would relative humidity change the likelihood of the moldy stuff?
I think we need to change all the filters on the HVAC. I bet there's some mold happening.
I want to do
No.
this whole thing again. I really do.
Me
Because
too.
I mean, I look at my control. Okay, interesting. My keyboard, I've got 5 tiny blotches, but no galaxies. My door handle has fucking nothing. The filthy door handle of my personal private office has nothing. So I'm thinking I might have done this wrong.
So on my door handle, I have a number of small black dots that I think are mold, but they're just not advanced yet. Is that possible?
Yeah, and I'm just sending you guys the inside bathroom doorknob from my house, and there's not really much there as well. So, and the other one that I sent that might be interesting is I opened a plate and I put it near in the window of my home office, and then just I didn't inoculate it. I just opened it and let it blow in. And then I have another one which was like probably 3 feet away, but not near the open window, which was just sort of sitting in a place where there wasn't much airflow behind my monitor in my office, and like literally 3 feet away, and much less contamination on that. So obviously,
so you got a little sourdough culture going
here,
here.
or something.
I did my toilet seat, and I really, really got in there. I did the full 360 swab on the underside of my toilet seat. We were going to get splatter.
Oh, no.
And what's interesting is my McD drink and my dirty hands were way worse than the toilet seat.
Yep.
Now, like I said last week, I had recently bleached it. I bleach the shit out of it once a week, whether I need it or not. But I really thought the toilet seat would have more splatter on it.
The toilet seat that I swabbed is immaculate. It looks like my control. Nothing.
This McD drink is not something I should be eating, though. Dirty. You did some other ones. Now, Max, you did a whole complement of these. You did. Did you do any more weird ones?
Let's see.
Do you have any interesting results in your weirdos?
Not really. So one that I expected to be really interesting was I swabbed the inside of my cat's mouth. So I got way up in there with the little cotton swab, and she was sort of trying to close her mouth, and she was
like that. Yeah.
She was not happy that I had that swab in her mouth, but I got way in there, and she licked all up on that swab.
What have I done?
And now that's what you call a dry swab. I didn't have I didn't put the total count on there. But then what I did was I swirled it all up in the total count. I got the cat saliva way in there. And I thought something would happen there, and I got to say, nothing happened. It's very boring.
My Glow Germ 1003 gel products experiment kit is arriving tonight, so I'm going to be getting on
exciting.
that as well. Dog licked plate.
Yeah,
oh
what is-
my
what
God.
are we
So
looking at
this
here?
I put a plate out as I often do, and I let my dog.
What
lick
kind
it.
of dog is it, Dawn?
Well,
Is it sweet?
there's two, and they're both mutts. But I think this was Gibbs, who's the pit mix. He's a sweetheart. I'll send you a picture. But
yeah, send a picture.
But yeah, like he has like you can see on that. There's a bunch of tiny little colonies, and then there's one giant, which is probably a bacillus colony. And so, yeah, it took that was like several days to get that to develop. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just sometimes the results are just not what you think.
So I swabbed. Did we all do our iPhone? I have to say my iPhone, which I never clean. I mean, I never think about my phone. My phone, that's as dirty.
You always hear about that's the dirtiest thing in the house. Everybody says your iPhone's the dirtiest thing there.
But I really didn't get anything off of the iPhone. I mean, it looks pretty clear.
I don't have anything that couldn't be agar bubbles.
Yeah, and
What about Alex? You're being awfully quiet. Do you have any interesting results in yours, or is it all perspiration?
No, yes, I totally fucked it up. I'm trying to see. Dr. Don, have you? There's got to be phones. Must be filthy, right? Because people use them in the bathroom. They're shitting. They're putting it right back in their pocket before they've washed their hands. I just can't imagine them ever being clean unless you use an alcohol wipe on it or something.
So and so in preparation for this show, I was doing some Googling on the scholar.google.com, and I found an article entitled, and I think it's in the links, Bacteria on Smartphone Touchscreens in a German University Setting, an evaluation of two popular cleaning methods using commercially available cleaning products. But the most important thing that I noticed is that, in fact, the level on these German smartphone screens prior to using those cleaning methods was very low, on the order of 1 to 2 colonies per square centimeter. So smartphone screens are actually not that dirty.
Also, there's one thing. Can I peer review that? Because I feel like they should control for Germany.
Well, I knew you were going to say something about Germany.
There's one thing we need to know about German people. I'm not going to say it here.
Okay.
I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
But we know what Germans do with things.
Yep. Okay.
Let me ask you.
And then they probably clean it real good because they're real tidy.
Let me ask
But
you
they get a
this.
little bit of glove juice on it, and then they just get it all nice and tidy. They take to school for the experiment.
Is there something
Yeah,
about the iPhone that makes it not a good place for germs to grow?
I think it's mostly that you're probably always taking it in and out of your pocket. It's probably just sort of naturally cleaning itself to a certain extent.
Right.
Yeah.
But like Tony Stark's flip phone.
And is there anything
And it's
of like
it's real smooth, right? And so it's not like a keyboard where it's got like cracks. You know what might be interesting is to take the cover off and then swab around if you wear a cover on your phone.
Oh, you know what I didn't think to do? I scrubbed right on. Actually, it's my iPad. At the end of the day, per the directions, as I said to you guys in the channel, I was doing it the night before. But you know what I didn't think to do is it would be fun to check the right button on an iPhone. That might be the really interesting one. Because if you think about the dispersal and the smearing on the screen, I wonder what the button, you know what I mean? The on-off button on the side, I bet that thing's filthy. I hadn't even thought of that.
Here's a
Okay,
good one.
I'm going to prepare a sample. I'm going to do it right now.
So in our office, we have a concrete floor, and when you have a big concrete floor, you have to do these cuts in the concrete. So because concrete is kind of living, and it sort of
it
shifts.
creates invaginations.
Yeah, it kind of shifts and changes over time. So by giving it cuts, it has like room to like adapt. So I went in with
That's why they do it at the sidewalk. So it's replaceable, and also if it cracks, it won't take out the whole sidewalk.
Exactly. So I went in with the swab, and I swabbed the crack in the floor right behind Alex's desk. And that's the one that I just attached.
Oh, great.
Oh, look at that, the office crack. Oh, look at that sweet doggy, Dr. Dawn. That's a sweet doggy.
Yeah, he's very sweet.
Oh, the office crack has got some serious bacillus boy on it. And it looks like maybe a human hair. Is that Alex's hair? I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom into the photo. By the way, this is a live photo. It's a live photo, just so you know.
Photo. Oh,
Rejoice.
God.
I
bet that's one of your hairs, Alex. Is this time theft? Have you been grooming at your desk?
Yeah, as one does.
All right. Did anyone else have any interesting results that they want to share? I mean, I feel like I covered all of mine.
I did. Go ahead.
No, it's just really interesting how badly I fucked this
Alex,
up.
Alex's are all liquid. They're all
wrong.
liquidy. Like
Yeah.
the gel never set. Did you maybe pour it
I would
into
say
the
bang it
wrong-
around. Try a couple more again.
Yeah, I'm
and
going
really
to.
bang it around in the bottle.
Dr. Don, you had an interesting one to tell us about.
Was this suet?
Yeah.
As in like fat?
Yeah, like for feeding the birds, right? And then I also tested some bird seed, and I just sort of dumped some bird seed in there. And then another one I tested was just a tiny little tomato.
Oh my God!
Which
what is wrong with that bird seed?
That's what all bird seed is like, right? It's just like, I mean, what's over kind of up at 2 and 3 o'clock. That's the actual seed itself. Because
I see. You put the seed right in there.
Well, no, I put the seed into the bottle and then swirled it around, and then I accidentally poured it out onto the plate. I tried to not, but it ended up pouring out, and so you can see it's the bird seed's pretty contaminated. I also tested like a tomato, just a little fresh tomato from the grocery store, and that's further up in the stream there. But it got some good galaxies there, and it was pretty, whatever. There were bacteria on the tomato, no surprise.
Ooh, that is TMTC. On that tomato. That's what they said. That's what we say in the business.
I have other things in my fridge. I have a salad from 3 weeks ago.
Ooh,
Rowan, I
was
think you
thinking
should.
of that.
I think you
Yeah.
should test that romaine lettuce. 'Cause that's not good to eat.
This might have from the before times. Might be the lettuce. I'll check.
Yeah.
Boy, if you follow Dr. Don on Twitter, you've been talking about this romaine lettuce for a long time. I was not surprised when we had this big romaine lettuce.
Yeah,
and
so
you
the good
posted
news
about
is
many
that
times.
probably the outbreak is over, although we might still see some cases. But yeah, romaine lettuce can make you sick, especially if it comes
And
from.
now I know the other thing I know from following Dr. Don on Twitter is you should not order these raw sprouts on a Jimmy John sandwich, which I used to do all the time, every time.
Oh, interesting.
And they pop up. Jimmy John's pops up a little thing saying, "Warning: you are adding raw sprouts to your sandwich, and it may kill you. Do you accept this liability?" And you have to click a little window to be like, "Yes, I accept that. I'm going to eat the raw
Why?
sprouts."
Tell us why.
Oh, so sprouts are an interesting one. So basically, there is no way to turn seeds into sprouts without growing bacteria, because the conditions that you need to germinate those seeds into sprouts are the same identical conditions you need for growing bacteria. Now, the good news is if you start with seeds that don't have pathogens, you're A-okay, right? But if you start with seeds that even have a small number of salmonella or pathogenic E. coli, by the time 3 days have gone by and you've turned those seeds into sprouts, you've also cultured very high concentrations of salmonella and or E. coli if they were there to start with. So, yeah.
God.
Sorry, guys. Oh, but the good news is The risks of not eating still outweigh the risks of eating. So keep eating food, please.
I'll try.
So I just want to go. So before we end, and I do think we need to release Dr. Don back to his life and responsibilities. People are listening to this. This might be sort of the first introduction that some of our audience is getting into the exciting world of food safety and obsessively washing your hands and all of this. It seems like, so first of all, it seems like the big takeaways are people should be washing their hands probably more than the average person is, and that there's a difference. I like the idea that there's a difference between cleaning and sanitizing. Are there any sort of like top level, headline level food safety things that you wish every person knew?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I would say, a really good one would be if you don't have a thermometer in your home fridge, you should get one. Because one thing that's going to affect safety and quality is how cold your cold is in your fridge. And so that's really good. I would think everybody should have a meat thermometer.
How cold should your refrigerator be?
My recommendation is 40 degrees or below. Obviously, not so cold that things freeze, right? Because that's not good. You don't want frozen eggs, right? But
that's like colder than they recommend for beer, right? I mean, that's pretty damn cold.
Well, the recommendation for restaurants is 41 or below, or 42, depending upon your state. But so I would say should be 40 degrees or less. The other thing is everybody should buy a meat thermometer if you cook meats or if you cook any dishes that require heat. And I would suggest there's a pretty good one out there made by a company called Thermopen. They're a little bit less than $100, but it's a tip sensitive digital thermometer. It's really a top of the line piece of hardware. Would definitely recommend that.
I fully endorse that thermometer, as well as I also am a big fan of the Thermopop by Thermopen, which is their lower end one. But it's an instant read digital thermometer, very accurate. You can get it at like cooking stores like Sur La Table or Amazon.
Can I ask a question for a friend, Dr. Don?
Sure.
Okay. Let's say for the sake of argument, you've gone to the store and you brought home some meats. And you're a busy businessman. You haven't had time to prepare the meats in a way that you might like. And you're pretty sure that the meat is right on the edge of going bad. Is it a good idea to put that in the freezer because it might freshen it up again when you thaw it later?
Well, putting it in
if you were going to make a stroganoff next month and you thought the meat might be going bad now, is it a good idea? Would you, for example, serve that to say like a Ken Jennings? Just hypothetically, is it safe if the meat, if it's edge meat, if you've got edge meat or an edge beef and it's right almost there, it's stored next to your batteries and your mashed potatoes and noodles, like you've got that, you're pretty sure, okay, let's be honest, you might even think it's gone bad. Is it like a D-cell battery or a 9-volt battery where if you put it into deep refrigeration, it could rejuvenate some of the performance characteristics of the beef and not poison the Jeopardy boy?
Well, please,
is that a safe thing to do?
So please tell your friend who is not John that when you put the food in the freezer, it doesn't freshen it up. But what it does...
Are you now, hang on. Is that big freezer talking, or are you giving us science?
I have no money. This is pure unadulterated science. I have no money from big freezer.
I don't know how we'd even tell at this point. You seem like you're really, really deep in with these industries. You're in the pocket of fresh meat.
If you put the food in the freezer, it stops the clock, but it doesn't reset or freshen anything. Okay, so
at all?
Yeah, no. Freezing may
kill. Is that opinion or science? Because I like it when you separate those.
So freezing may kill bacteria, but it's not a reliable way of killing bacteria, and that's supported by science.
All right, let me ask another. God, I'm sorry. We do need to wrap this up. But what products should most people be using to wash their hands? Like, does it matter? Does it matter what kind of soap?
God.
Doesn't matter what kind of soap.
You're driven by an engine. Oh my
have
God.
To know. I
you
have
think
to know.
about this so much.
I do. I'm upset. I need to know. What soap product should we buy for our office for people to use? Now, does it matter if it has a pumice in it?
It depends how dirty your hands are.
I've been working closely with the people over at the pumice industry for quite a while, and I would have to say, pumice is an excellent product that should be included in every soap. Wink.
I like bar soap. My wife likes pump
No,
soap.
how could you like bar soap?
Wow.
It's disgusting. You just have a wet soap just sitting like a.
No.
Not
oh
for
my
your-
God, Dr.
not-
Don.
Not for your
No,
office,
it's like a
Max.
sponge.
For your office, you should get some of those non-refillable, non-bulk soap dispensers.
What about if it foams versus non-foaming?
I don't care for the foam, but that's my opinion. I think in terms of the effectiveness, you're probably going to save a little bit of money with the foaming because you actually use less when you dispense it. We've studied both types in the laboratory, although not head to head. The foam soaps work just fine. So
it's an aesthetic choice.
Mostly it comes down to that.
But when you go to the hospital or a doctor's office and you wash your hand in the little sink in the waiting room there, it's always the foam soap. It's like some sort of, medical grade.
I think they're just saving money.
You're a fan of the foam, aren't you, Max?
Well, I feel like it's doing something.
A good thing about the foam soaps is that most of the dispensers that dispense the foaming soaps are not the refillable kind. They are the enclosed kind. So from a sanitary perspective, they're better.
Yes. All right.
And so for the it doesn't really matter what kind of soap you like. Have you had any findings of like, wow, this kind of soap works way better or works way worse?
In my opinion, and based on the science that we've done, the antibacterial kinds work better, but I don't think people can buy those in the grocery store anymore because the FDA is not allowing them.
Okay.
Fuck them.
All right. And now you think I should not do what Merlin does and pour 60% alcohol on my hands, that I should actually go to Purell Corporation and I should get some sort of napalm defoliant product.
Well, remember that 60% works better than 90%, and what brand and what kind. You buy something that you like, right? Buy something that is a name brand that smells good, that feels good on your hands, and
this sounds like opinion. Is there one of these? You had mentioned earlier offline in our super secret private channel that it might be fun to pour hydrogen peroxide. I don't know if you know, I'm a huge fan of hydrogen peroxide.
I know you are. I know. I haven't done it. I was gonna.
Oh God!
So which one should I do? Should I do it in the shoe?
What
you want? Do it in the shoe sole?
You want me to do it first, just in case there's any liability?
No, fuck that. I'm a scientist. I can do this. It's going to foam a lot, probably, right?
I think it will. Yeah.
Okay, so the single dirtiest one.
Keep it away from your keyboard.
Well, it's right here. I need that for my work.
Well, but be careful. Be safe.
Okay. Well, I'll keep my bucket nearby. In case I need to put it in the bucket.
Well, what is?
Oh wait, you know what I'll do? I had some potato salad earlier. So
what does hydrogen peroxide do? I feel like that's something that it's like what is that? It's like old people would use
when you
that.
Swish around and it burns.
Yeah. So the science is that the bacteria have something called catalase. So hydrogen peroxide is toxic to bacteria.
It's a debriding agent.
And so they have catalase, and so the catalase takes the H2O2 and turns it into H2O and O2, and it bubbles, right, because of oxygen. So it's pretty cool.
Little Johnny took a drink, but now he drinks no more. For what he thought was H2O was H2SO4.
Which would be sulfuric acid. I don't recommend that you pour that on your plate.
True. Okay, here we go. Pouring it into the shoe sample. Ready? Let's see if I can get it on mic.
Oh no.
Oh.
Is it bubbling?
Well, it sure doesn't smell good inside the potato salad bowl. I got a deli tainer from which I ate a deli tainer of potato salad for my breakfast. And now, boy, this is going to be really hard to explain on a forum someday. I'm going to close that. I'm going to close all of that, and I'm going to put this over here. And Don, did you have final thoughts? Because I know a lot of people are going to be doing this experiment at home.
Should I be washing my hands with hydrogen peroxide? Should that be part of my? Should that be part of my routine?
Put it on a wound, Max. Put it on a wound, and if you swish around with it, it makes your mouth feel very clean. Listen to this.
So should you be swishing
what?
with hydrogen peroxide?
my mouth.
Are you fucking with us? I have no idea.
Is this real?
I don't know what's happening.
This is radio theater.
Nope. Hydrogen peroxide.
Hold on.
I first got it for if you got a canker sore. It really burns and it closes it up. It actually closes up the wound of the canker sore. I now use hydrogen peroxide because of John Roderick. I use hydrogen peroxide probably 3 to 5 times a day. Just every time I go in the bathroom, I do a swish.
Fuck.
It makes you feel so clean, and you can feel it burning on your gums. Anywhere you're abraded, anywhere like you floss too hard, it burns like an acid on there. Am I right, Dr. Don?
I don't do that with hydrogen peroxide. I mostly like to put it on bacteria. But yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually,
Different
honestly,
strokes, I guess.
from my perspective, what it works pretty well is on pimples and stuff like that. I find that it's a pretty good way to kind of resolve those more quickly.
It makes your wound, whatever wound you got, it'll sizzle.
So do or do not put it on my hands.
I wouldn't recommend it, Max. I don't think you're gonna. I think soap and sanitizer.
Do you have any sort of tricks? I'm looking for something here. What can I buy to put on my hands?
Yeah, give him something to buy.
I need a hack here.
Oh, you know what?
He's got hot hands, Dr. Don.
Here's one that you can research, okay? So there, again, I'm going to shill for Gojo Corporation. So there is a formulation of Purell called VF, okay? VF definitely does not stand for virus formulation because they're not allowed to make that claim. But if they could, the VF might actually work better against the norovirus.
Now we're talking. Oh,
Okay.
right.
VF.
Now, let me tell you something that I heard. God, it's so fucking late. I'm so sorry. Now, Merlin and I have gone on this thing called the Jonathan Colton cruise.
Oh, my God. Yes.
And I really worry about when I'm on this cruise. Now, a cruise ship is already a high-risk environment for viruses, right? You're going to have the norovirus, whatever.
It's basically a norovirus with cheap antihistamines.
And people and people are going to get on this cruise from wherever, and you're in close proximity to everyone, just farting and sneezing all into each other's food and the buffet. And
A fart boat full of wrong.
and now you mix in that it's the Jonathan Colton cruise, and you're going to have a subset of people whose hygiene practices they're sort of below average hygiene individuals. And it has risen to the level where I believe that Paul and Storm, who organized the cruise, have actually needed to make an announcement to the attendees to remind them that they do need to bathe and that swimming in the pool does not count as a substitute for bathing during the week-long cruise experience. Now, when I go on that cruise, for me, I'm doing a lot of signing, I'm handling people's stuff, I'm shaking a lot of hands, and I am so, so worried. And someone told me that the normal that the normal hand sanitizer really does nothing against norovirus.
That's
and
true.
That if
That's
you
scientifically
and so if you're
factual.
at a big thing about doing signings is that you're trying to sanitize your hands after you're shaking everyone's hands, so you're not also spreading whatever you get on your hands. And someone told me about this special kind of hand sanitizer, and the one I got actually came as a moisturizer product, and it had hydro something in it, and it was supposed to kill norovirus.
What was the ingredient again?
Hydro something.
Hydro something?
Hydro. Do you know what I'm talking about? It had the hydro in it.
Was there a skull and some snakes around there? What was happening?
And
Oh, hydroflexicognium.
that could be it.
It's an anaerobic. It's an anaerobic hydrophilic
That could be it.
that performs the debriding. Is that such a thing, Dr. Don? I think what Max might be trying to ask is there a super sanitizer you're just not fucking telling us about?
This is the one I'm telling you about, right? Like I know that
You're talking about the TFX instant sanitizer, Purell 549604, VF 481 TFX instant hand sanitizer?
I think that might be it.
Okay.
Okay, I found it. I found the product that I purchased, and I recommended to Merlin before going on the Joko cruise.
It's the Hydro.
It's called It's Gold Bond hand sanitizer and moisturizer.
Same people that make Gold Bond medicated powder.
Moisturizer.
I love that stuff.
Now, what is that? It's got the hydro in it.
Ultimate Sheer Moisture Sanitizer. That's Gold Bond Ultimate.
It has benzothorium chloride.
Oh, benzalkonium chloride? Or,
Yeah, that's the one. Hydro. It kills 99.9% of germs. Says here
hydroxyethyl.
alcohol free.
It has hydroxyethylurea.
Yeah, so benzalkonium chloride is a different kind of sanitizer. It works on a different principle than alcohol. The thing that I've been talking about, and I put a link in the Google Doc as well as in the text chat about basically what you can take the alcohol-based hand sanitizer and then add special ingredients that kind of help it work
You
against
can
norovirus.
juice it up. Hack your sanitizer.
Yes.
Now this
I
is
want a
what I'm
health
here
cocktail
for.
for my
I'm fucking
hands. I want a
showing
hot
up
hand
for this.
cocktail.
Yes.
Fuck yes.
Juice it up.
Oh, God.
What do we do if we want to juice our performance, Dr. Don? Give us science, not opinion on this. What should we be adding to make a bespoke sanitizer mix?
Do not try this at home. Leave it to the professionals.
Oh, here we go. Who told you that? Oxo?
Yeah.
You in the pocket of big Oxo?
Yeah.
Who told you that?
Yeah.
Stop washing your chicken, says Dr. Don. Opinion or fact? He won't say. Dr. Don, if you want people to find you on the internet, which is entirely your choice, where would people find you on the internet? We'll have it in show notes, but tell us here for our listeners.
So you can find me on Twitter at Bug Counter, and then mostly I would just like people to listen to my podcast, which is called Food Safety Talk. We talk about nerdy stuff like this every couple of weeks. I sit down with my buddy Ben Chapman from North Carolina State University, and we talk about these kind of things all the time.
I hope it doesn't sound like I'm damning you with faint praise, but it's it is perhaps as interesting and informative as you'd expect, but it's also funnier than you might expect. It's a fun visit, and you guys have a nice as you say, chemistry.
I just want to second that. That was so. I think Merlin mentioned food safety talk on one of his other shows, and when I heard about that, at first I thought maybe it was a bit or a joke. I was like, "There's no way there's a whole podcast about food safety." I was just like, and of course I immediately went to check it out because Merlin recommended it, and it is so. It is the best possible kind. It's what I'm looking for anytime I pick up any kind of media, which is it's a very gracious introduction into a whole world that is really kind of cool and exciting and nerdy. And you guys are very welcoming to new people, and you're very good hosts, and you really open up this whole world. And I really, really love it, and I'm very grateful that you do that and put it out for all of us, and strongly recommend it for all of our
thanks.
listeners.
And I think a couple people have found it already because of the after show, and I really appreciate that. We did have somebody that found us because of an interview that Ben did on NPR, and they listened for 5 minutes, and they said we talked too much about audio problems and that they were never going to listen again. They just read the show notes.
That was me, I think. Also, Wise Ben has a vocal fry. Bullshit talk.